Hello, gentles and ladymen. I'm Ulan the Bison, and I am joined by my good friend, the Chosen Bison. We are a pair of bison looking at a picture of a capybara. How's it going today?
It's going fantastic as always.
All right, and we have the March update came out today. Woo! Now, I've already put out a video on the PUP, and it was also like an hour and 40 minutes, and I don't want to take that long on this video, especially because, you know, a chunk of the information at least is going to be relatively similar. So this video's focus is more, we'll still go over everything, but we're probably going to breeze through a lot of the patch notes unless they're really important, and the focus on this video is going to be on how the update differs from the PUP and how the PUP has changed over the past few weeks that it has been out, because this has been probably one of the more volatile and change-heavy PUPs that we've had in a good while, and also one of the biggest updates. And with that out of the way, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Alright, March this year, we're bringing you everything from new hero customizations, ooh, to new battleship cards, yep, we're familiar with those. New tree decks to delete, okay, new cheats, new March Madness event with challenges and cool rewards, okay, cool. Alright, sounds like some fun going into it. Alright, hero customization rewards, yep. I wonder what civilization do you think is getting new heroes?
So really what's going on is they're going to release a couple of the already existent skins. You'll see more about it, but the most important...
like the ones that you had to pay for are now, like, unlockable?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, some of the ones from previous events, they have two, the Spanish villager, or the female Spanish villager hero, as well as the one super buff Chinese sailor bro.
Oh, okay, cool. New mod profile pictures, new official mod, day-night cycle. Oh, okay, so
Yes.
that's actually super cool. I like that a lot.
Yep, and it's going to be pretty simple to unlock too, and we'll go over that when we get there.
All right, so you've already read the patch notes. I have not. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
All right, cool. Sounds good. No spoilers.
Unless you're lying to us all and you're already read it and you're just pretending you aren't.
So yeah, in light infantry cavalry multiplier update, that's probably the biggest thing about this, and we'll talk about that specifically, even if it hasn't changed. Mortar unit attacks, yep, statistically optimized UI. Stability, so we can skip most of the stability stuff. Yeah, they made the game run better. That's what we need to know. We don't need to know the specifics.
Oh, it's a good thing.
All right, March Madness events. So this is the new event from the 14th to the 4th of April. Available again. Yep. Okay, so here's the Lao Chen, I think is his name, and the female villager. Is that a fucking Kratos? No, it's not, but it looks kind of like him.
It's native Kratos, maybe?
It's native Kratos! It's the Aztec Kratos. He's wearing gold. It fits. Some kind of... I like this one, actually, the camel.
Oh, you know what that camel is? That, sir, is the Berber salt camel, where you just have it angrily drop all the salt it's feeling, mid saltiness, and you get a salt mine.
I love it.
It's actually a very fun bonus you can get as Hausa.
Alright, so, yeah, we have some new daily rewards. You know what? I'm not going to go over these. Anybody will be able to see them on their own as soon as they log in. So
the only important part I have to say is, thankfully, the day-night cycle is only like day 3 or day 4, so most people should have zero trouble getting there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Alright, we're releasing a full list of available cheats and bringing back cheats that were only available during exclusive events. Here are the cheats we brought back. Flying Dutchman, I don't exist. Yeah, cool. So all of the event-only cheats are back. Sounds good.
Got more Gatling Camel cheats, so that's what's important.
New unique battleship cards. Yes, I'm actually excited for some of these, and there's one in particular that I want to use more than any other. The Dutch one, Dutch battleships now move faster and damage all surrounding units upon detonation. Oh, so it turns every single ship into like a fire ship, like a fire junk, basically.
Well, only the battleship, but yes, it is. From what I gathered, and I haven't checked it myself, but I saw some numbers, and it is a ridiculous explosion. If you actually get in the middle of a real fleet, you just automatically want a water battle. Simple as.
Interesting, but I feel like, you know, you shouldn't plan on losing the battleship to begin with.
I mean, given the battleships themselves are a part of, or an age that you don't generally associate with mass water battles, it'll be interesting to see if it ever sees use, but if it does, big booms, baby.
Alright, French battleships now benefit from defense promotions, boosting their hit points. Yeah, this is the one that I think that I want to build. The one that I want to base a build around. Ships a mighty battleship ahead of its time. German battleships can train mercenaries instead of Uhlans to get an extra privateer. So this is an age 3 shipment that costs 900 food, coin, and wood. Imagine making a build with Germany where you fast fortress and then drop this in the forward pond in New England.
Even that just means Germany almost has like this giant Uno reverse card in the water. Age 3 battleship is going to wreck a lot of what anyone's going to have to even try to take it. So
yeah, now it's super expensive, but it can like decide the game right then and there. Me and my buddy actually went into New England to test whether or not the battleship could reach the town center with offshore support. Unfortunately, it can't. It's a little bit short, but it was a super funny test. Alright, the Ottoman ones, battleships deal more damage at the expense of a slower rate of fire. Okay, that doesn't seem like a super big buff. Portuguese battleships can now heal other units. And the Russians get one that Russian battleships inflict more damage and are cheaper, but have less hit points. Oh, that's cool. So it Russianifies the battleship. That's cool, actually.
The Streltsy of the sea.
Yeah, exactly. The Strellet of battleships, I guess. It's weird.
Kind of ironic take when you think about it.
Ooh, 3 new maps. These were not included in the PUP. We have the Caucasus.
Oh no, not that.
Divided by a short mountain range between 2 seas. Ooh, look at this map. This map is cool.
So that one was on the PUP, and I've seen like one match from another streamer or caster, and that just looks like another one of those maps that's going to be like, oh, look, the opponent has zero problem turning this into a treaty game and even a 2v2. It's both probably going to be fun for the right people and also going to be obnoxious for a wrong kind of people.
I see Feanor is on it, so I'll be able to do my special boom with Aztecs more often. If this is being introduced into like standard map pools, so that's cool. Let's see, we have Muscovy. A long, winding river divides this map in 2. Most of the natural resources are located along the riverbank. Okay, interesting. No trade line on this one. We have Vasa, Oldenburg, Gaglion, and Feanor again. Ooh, lots of Feanor.
I mean...
And dunes. Whoa! This map looks cool as shit. Dunes, the Eye. Fight for control over resources that lie at the center of the Eye of the Sahara. Oh my god, yeah, look how many coin mines are in the middle.
Oh my god! It's Gold Rush!
And there's Berbers too, so you claim the native posts in the middle, and then you make villager Berber settlers from the middle of the map onto the coin mines.
Wow.
And there's treasures everywhere. Holy shit. This is actually, like, the coolest map design I've seen in a while.
But you know what? It's a good one, too. They could afford to have a few maps for people who really want those you have to fight for resources type maps.
Yeah, I like those. I like those.
Because it's been said before, but some of what this game's balancing over the past couple of years has been as much just more resource-heavy maps that favor staying closer to home.
And there's lots of gold mines around the outside, too, and it looks like the inside is where you want for, like, all the easy gathering coin and solid forward bases, and the outside is where you want for food.
Ethiopia is just like, we're going to turn this Orthodox Coptic as fuck.
This is such a cool map. I can't wait to try it. I'm probably going to make a video on just this map. Some stability and graphics issues.
I will report that at least people who've been paying attention to the PUP have said part of these particle changes have brought back some of the luster from the original OG version of Aoe3. I don't know how good that's looking exactly. I'll need to pay more attention, but hey, anything that prettifies the game is also nice.
All right. In general, we have added treaty decks for all civilizations that you can delete and make your own versions of. Woo!
Exactly what I was about to say.
Alright, so the 2 War Hut Trevwa card in Age 2 that's available to like all the natives now lowers the HP by 15% instead of 20. Nobody sent this card anyways. Now fewer people are going to.
Woo!
Fur Trade got nerfed. Very slightly. Medicine Wheel got nerfed to 35% from 50%. That I'm fine with this because it increases the gap between Aztecs and the rest of them. I know Aztecs got nerfed from the 20% to 10%, but like it's still so much higher than the rest of the healers that it works for me. Because like the whole Aztecs' whole uniqueness from the other natives is that they have strong dancers, and I was kind of against medicine wheels being added in the first place, but you know now it's a little bit toned down, so I feel better about it.
Got to keep those other native sets down. They don't deserve nice things.
Mercenary loyalty in Age 3 tooltip updated to specify this card reduced. Yep. So yeah, this is basically just saying that it just said a reduced price of mercenaries. Now it says mercenary shipments, so you're gonna get confused thinking you get a discount at the saloon. Naval Gunners fixed an issue that made this card available in Age 2 for the French, Russians, and Swedes instead of Age 3.
Whoop-de-doo.
Team Engineering School, this is an auto card, I believe, no longer reduces the train time of Grenade Troopers and Obus Gunners. Wow, really? Wow.
Oh.
I'm surprised, but I'm all for it. You know, fuck Obus Guns. I hate them with a passion.
What did Obus Guns ever do to you besides probably just get spammed and ruin a game?
Yeah, no, they spam them, and then they have so many that, like, you don't need anti-cav.
Well, yeah, it's a big gun. Big guns should beat lesser guns. and guns should beat not guns every time. One of the few most realistic units in the game.
Infinite 17 Mayan allies, no longer shares the build limit with the Mayan Hulk and Spearman trained at the Mayan trading post. Very cool. Technologies. I think I talked about this one in extense in the PUP video, so I won't go over it this time. Several technologies now get properly auto-researched upon starting the game in post-industrial and post-imperial. 2 soldiers, 2 surgeons, 4 spies, 5 PTARs, British consulate. These consulate shipments available to the Chinese and Indians are now infinite. Yeah, this one I actually remember making a big deal about, and I'm actually super excited to try to make a build for this. I want to like see if maybe I can do a British consulate PTAR shipment spam with India. I think that would be really, really funny. But this is a pretty big deal, especially if you're going with elephants, because if you go with big elephant strategies, one of the big things you do is you grab the 2 surgeons, because they help keep your elephants alive and heal them back up to shape, which vastly increases your resource efficiency with elephants because of how expensive they are. You build the training camps, but if your surgeons go down, you can't get them you can't get them ever again. So this way you can get more of them if your first ones go down. So that's a pretty big deal for India.
And of course, as the devs continue exploring more and more mercenary play, having infinite force spies might prove useful as well.
Mm-hmm. Army of the Pure at the Udasi Temple now. Oh yeah. So it buffs to chakrams. The maximum HP granted is now capped at 2. Yeah, okay, so this one was reasonable. The Bourbon Royal House had a tech that gives you XP for every house I think you have, or no, it's every building you have and every tech you've done, or and anything like that.
I think it's just the tech. Every tech you've researched,
and
but
it
that's
was
still...
something ridiculous. Like, you had no cap on it, and so in the late game you could get the Berbers and get something like 7,000 XP at once towards the late game, or even higher, and it was a little stupid. It's like 3 or 4 times better than mercantilism at a fraction of the cost.
I could only imagine that there is probably at least one French treaty player who managed to use the H2 Ancient Regime card, just saved up for that, and then suddenly 7 shipments just in time for big action.
Yeah, I didn't realize how busted this was until I actually did it recently in a game, and I was like, holy fuck, this needs to be nerfed.
Yeah, I'm still slightly surprised the devs let that actually be part of the French card to get that tech, because let's face it, that's a lot of potential value.
The French get guaranteed access to this tech with the Bourbon House? What?
Yep.
Wow.
And we'll be going over that later, I suspect.
Alright. Cheyenne Fury. Cheyenne Rider damage multiplier against cavalry gets improved by 1, down from 1.5. And against shock... Okay, so yeah, they nerfed the Cheyenne's pikeman-ness against the Cheyenne Rider's pikeman-ness. Cheyenne was always kind of interesting. They're like mounted pikemen as natives. They're pretty cool, actually, but a little bit worse now.
The next one's hype, though. Imported cannon.
Yes, this is, I think, a very big deal. Because like it was so expensive to get cannons before, and also like it took forever before you even research the tech. Normally, you don't research this tech unless you feel like, oh shit, I need cannons like right the fuck now, and it made it a really, really slow oh shit button, and that is definitely an improvement right here with the imported cannons buff.
Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? The cannons themselves can still be expensive, but at least you don't feel like you're paying a huge cost just to have the opportunity to make them now.
Yeah. Alright, let's go down to units and buildings.
How's a con cannon makers rejoice?
Experience bounties. Corrected the build and XP bounties of several units to correctly fit the unit cost. Notable examples are Drummers, Corsair Markmen, Galleons, Ink Stronghold. Okay, cool. Ranged Shock Infantry. So this applies to just the Eagle Runner Knight and like no other unit in the game. Previously hidden... Actually, it might apply to the Bolus Warrior. I'm not sure whether or not that one counts as a heavy infantry or a goon. Previously hidden damage multiplier against ranged shock infantry units like the Eagle Runner Knight is now visible in the statistics panel through the introduction of a class icon. Cool, so you're now able to actually see the damage multiplier against Eagle Runner Knights when you're looking at a skirmisher. That's a big deal.
I mean, yeah, that's just good on them. Should have already been a thing.
It should have been a thing for years.
It just doesn't... It feels bad to not know this information's hidden in there somewhere, so anytime to make that clear, that's a thumbs up. We are happy here. The
previously hidden 3 times damage multiplier of villagers against depots, shrine, and mountain monasteries are now visible in the statistics panel through the introduction of the new resource enclosures, building class, and class icon. Cool.
Can we talk about the fact that this whole time villagers technically deal decent damage to Japanese shrines and nobody ever knew about it?
I thought everybody knew about it. But I guess I guess I shouldn't expect as many people to read like patch notes religiously like I do. But I knew about it for like 6 months, and I was like, oh okay, it's just adding a multiplier that into the panel that everybody knows exists. Apparently not. I guess I was like wrong in that. Sometimes I overestimate. Sometimes I like underestimate just how much like I know about this game.
I mean, just proves the point. It's a good thing it's not hidden anymore.
Yeah. Advanced hot air balloon can no longer be deleted. I find that kind of funny. Aeronite captured mortar, hand mortar, Haraka mortar, so all the mortar units. Now inflicts 1.25 bonus damage against walls in the Fortress Age and 2 times bonus in the Industrial Age. This is pretty awesome here. Just because everybody fucking hates the people who span 18 layers of walls. Nobody likes that shit. And now we have a way to get past them a little bit faster. So, I'm all for it.
I mean, it's the classic approach from the older cousin AoE2.
Yeah.
The later the game goes, the better artillery gets at making turtle no longer work. So, high time we ported that over.
Aoe3 Monastery, House of Fenar, also trains priestesses for Inca and griots for Hausa. Reading this change here was actually what led me to the discovery that the Aoe3 Monastery could train warrior priests, leading to my warrior priest, my new unique coin-based warrior priest boom that I put on the channel pretty recently. But yes, yeah, they can now train priestesses for Inca and griots for Hausa, which were previously special healers that were missing. And this is a pretty big deal. As it allows, it allows, the Inca to do their Priestess Fast Fortress for a little bit faster, just by going on the coin mines instead of the dance, which is pretty cool, because Priestesses take a while to dance for. I think they take a little bit longer than Warrior Priests for Aztec. They also have a build limit of 16 instead of 10. I've been meaning to see if their cost can get halved from 200 to 100 through use of Russia's team patriarchy card, but we'll have to wait on that. Look for an update on the channel about this. I'm working with Dunamai, the resident the resident priestess guy in the server.
The resident weird facts guy.
Berber Nomad, cost decreased from 150 food to /120 influence, down from 180, 145, and train time reduced. Yeah, Berber Nomads were hella expensive. I'm glad to see this. Makes it feel a little bit more worth it.
I've seen at least one of our Discord members suggest they think this makes Berber the appropriate H2 now, between having cheaper Nomads who, with the Berber tech, actually are hilariously good at anti-cav. It gives the potential for an even stronger boomy turtle start for Hausa. Going to mesh perfectly with trying to get out Hakan, Maigadi, and Cannon.
Bosniaks got their promotions back, but with lower promotion benefits. We talked about this in depth in the previous video, so I won't do it this time. The Chakram is now basically a Grenadier Skirmisher, just like the Fire Thrower. Community Plaza, minimum placement distance to enemy town centers increased to 80 tiles from 65, and hit points reduced to 1,200 from 1,500. So yeah, this is making it so you can't rush your opponent with what are they? You can't rush your opponent with
the Warriors
as easily. Which I thought that got nerfed a long time ago, but I guess it was still an issue. So there you go. The nerf to HP I don't really approve of, because it makes it so easy to destroy the community plaza from a distance now. And like the community plaza is the lifeblood of a native player's defense, and now it takes very little siege to shut down a native player's base defense. So
serves them right for never figuring out cannons.
Consulate age artillery units such as heavy cannons and great bombards and rockets no longer receive an extra 25% damage and hit points improvement in the industrial age, in addition to their standard 10% improvement. Wow, so they just nerfed like all of the consulate cannons by 25% in the industrial age. That is rough. I don't know about that.
Well, it's not all of them. So if you read it correctly, they were giving an extra buff to the factory types. Great Bombards, Heavy Cannon, Mysorean Rockets with an extra 25%, like double consulate bonus to the factory cannons. Woof! Even reading that, it's like, how did you miss that in the first place?
I was reading it as they're taking away the Industrial Guard upgrade, basically, for these.
I don't even think they're doing that, because even by their own admission, it was just they're getting 10% regular consulate. So I don't know.
No, whatever. The point is they're 25% worse than what they used to be.
No.
Dahomey Amazon now inflicts 3.5 times damage to heavy infantry, up from 1.75. 0.5 against all infantry, down from 1. And 0.5 against heavy cavalry instead of all cavalry. And 0.4 against hand shock infantry. Yeah, so they made the Dahomey Amazon worse, which I don't get, because Dahomey Amazon was already a skirmisher mercenary that costed 300 coin apiece. So I don't understand why they're nerfing this and making it worse against a lot of infantry, a lot of other infantry and skirmishers, and worse against others. So it doesn't make sense to me. Like, nobody made the Dahomeys because they were so expensive, but now even less people will.
It is what it is.
Docks and ports are easier to place. Drummers are gunpowder troopers now. Interesting. Native trading posts have decreased line of sight. This means that this change was probably made to help deal with the fact that you could just walk next to a trade post and claim it without building it, and get line of sight to see like enemies walking nearby. It's going to be a little bit harder to spot raids now, basically.
Seems fair.
Landsknechts now costs 2 population slots, down from 3. Yeah, that's OP. Unit hit points and damage are now upgraded from the Commerce Age base values. 345, 43. Yeah, so you got some stat nerfs, basically. Current values are restored upon reaching the Fortress Age.
So the big thing here is clearly them realizing that their original extra pop nerf, that because before my time, Sweden was making good use of them. Too much, now they're not being made at all. So they're trying to find a way to split the difference so you can actually use them in a reasonable mass, and Sweden has a reason to make them H2, but they won't be get their full stats till H3. I do think that also means upgrades apply to those commercial stats, so there's still a slight net nerf there.
Yeah, there is.
But still, I think this is a much better approach than just tacking on more pop onto them, because just even comparing the regular Halberdier, the previous version just felt bad.
I'm terrified of Landsknechts already, and now I don't want to mess with them at all. Levied Bowman is now classified as light infantry, archaic infantry, foot soldier. Cool. Yeah, here we go. This is the big thing of the patch here. Skirmishers and foot archers have their range damage multipliers reduced by 20% against heavy cavalry and 33% against hand shock infantry. Light infantry units that did not inflict negative damage bonuses against shock infantry so far have now received negative multipliers. Units including siege damage, obelisk gunners, cannoneers, fire throwers received higher negative multipliers, whereas counter skirmishers, Pandors, and Scivoni received lower ones. So yeah, this is a big thing, is that all skirmishers across the board, all of them, are now worse against cavalry and shock infantry. And coincidentally, which is a coincidental buff to cavalry and shock infantry, as it makes it so that your enemy will need a lot more skirmishers in order to one-shot your cavalry.
So, 2 things. First, there's actually 1 unit buffed by this. 1 single unit actually is buffed by this. Bersalieri were brought up to 0.6 multiplier from 0.5.
Interesting. Okay.
So they technically benefit from this. We'll see how long that lasts. But let's face it, this is the other reason your previous video probably took an hour plus. This whole thing is 3 different videos just by itself. It could have huge ramifications on the way this game is played. But
it's not any different, though, so we're probably going to breeze through it. But yeah, I just wanted to make a big point of that. This is huge.
Also, of course, incidentally, that should at least make things like Abyss Gunners being overly good against counters feel a little less true, so people can rejoice about that as well. See how it plays out here, I'm sure.
Lanero from Grand Columbia is now classified as Lancer and Heavy Cav. Hajuk damage increases. Healer now gathers 20% faster than Avila of the Community Pause, down from 25. So yeah, they're really nerfing healers. I'm glad, because it brings the Aztec focus back to plazas, you know. Javelin Rider nerf, thank God. Oh my god, Javelin Riders are insane. I hate them.
We aren't saying that due to recent experience, are we now?
No, not at all. How could
I
you
mean,
say such a thing?
for anyone who saw our previous or
I never posted that game. I never posted that game.
Oh,
We did it 2v2 and got shredded by a guy spamming these. It was no joke.
I'm not going to pretend I made perfect counters, but there's definitely somebody said that Jab Riders are very packed for their early age and very stats.
Yeah.
The fact they're so comparable to Reuters, even before Reuters get upgrades, they'll eventually surpass them. But yeah, just a little bit of tuning's probably in order here. I don't think many people are going to complain about this.
So mortar units can now target normal units for once. They have an area effective of 4 at a range of 30, which is 30 is a hell of a lot shorter than I think the 42 base range that mortars have for buildings. Barrage attacks now benefit from cards improving the attack and range of these units. I wonder if case shot will affect mortar now. That'd be kind of funny, huh?
But yeah, I mean, this is the actual most important part of this patch. And if you disagree, you're wrong. Mortars finally still do nothing, but at least they do nothing with fancy animations. So, best patch. Best patch.
The 4 area effect is actually quite useful. 30 damage is not a lot. You know, it's still a hell of a lot less than like the Aeronite, which is the king of all artillery. But you know, it's area of effects, so there you go.
I mean, the real talk is between this and the buff to walls and later ages, you're at least going to be far more tempted to at least bring a couple mortars. Exactly. Just because you aren't like, what the hell do I do with this in the meantime?
I'm kind of curious if advanced artillery is going to see a lot more play now.
I'm all for it, even if it just means more horse artillery, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, horse artillery is so expensive.
Sounds like a skill issue.
Sounds like an ego issue to me. Royal Horsemen got hit points increase.
Yeah. I mean,
they're back up to their mercenary status rather than just being worse than their normal unit counterparts.
Well, that's just it. If you play France and you compare them to like even the Age 4 upgrade to Gendarme, you're just like, why would I ever make this instead?
Yeah, exactly.
So even just being less damage but beefier and AoE-ier, they're almost actually now Mahouts more in disguise than they are Cuirassiers.
Basically. Seminal Sharktooth Bowman fixed an issue that prevented this unit from getting updated by Seminal Invincible's technology and sent to the home city. On that note, though, why aren't there mercenary elephants? I would love mercenary elephant units.
I was just thinking about that actually, and now I need this to happen.
Me too. I want like a mercenary Mahout Lancer that has like 1500 HP. That would be so great. You know, it costs like 900 coin per unit or something stupid like that.
One though, it would literally soak every single point of damage the entire game.
All right,
this needs to happen, devs. Please listen.
Sudanese Dervish now inflict 3 times bonus to heavy infantry, up from 1.5. Yeah, they're giving it the Dahomey Amazon treatment. Warriors now grants 10 XP to the enemy player when defeated. This is, as much as I hate to admit it, because I feel like Aztec are, you know, still a little bit worse than some of the other civilizations, this is fair. You know, with the amount that you spam warriors when you're under pressure, like, fine, it's fair.
Yeah.
Like, they're not as limited as the 6-minute men are. You know?
As someone who hasn't suffered through this yet, in my limited experience, but if you just told me about this, like, warrior spam, and then you told me, yeah, and there's an XP system for killing units, but you get none from this, I'd be like, why? Why is that do that? You
can only get 8 warriors up at a time, but generally when I'm under pressure, I'll stick the warrior dance on, and I'll just have the warriors run into danger, basically, and just have a constant stream of them. And after a little bit, you know, I've realized, oh shit, I've made like 30 warriors to defend my town now.
Well, that's just it. The fact that without that XP, they're all but consequenceless to just keep sending out. Mm-hmm. For one, that sounds like a terrible way to run your village in a macro sense. But 2, that just feels bad for the other guy. Like, he's got all this and I don't get anything from killing all of that? 10 XP is just, it was called for.
Winged Hussar, cost reduced to 200 food, 100 coin. This is very, very justified because 250, 100 is insane. That's 350 resources for a native Hussar. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, a very good one. No,
I was about
mind
to say, they're not a native Hussar. That's not fair because they're far more of a cuirassier than they are a Hussar, despite the name.
A very good one, but they were expensive as shit, and that's solved now. So
I mean, it doesn't matter what we do. We all know they're going to get switched once the inevitable Polish DLC comes out and they get named New England Hussar for the Poles instead. But in the meantime, nice.
Yoruba Esso Rider buff, slightly cool. Yeah, High Priest of Exultant. The gather work rate for Warrior Priest is now increased by 10%, down from 20. I still think this card is useful. And I know, like, it really doesn't seem like it, but you know what? It's useful just for the Explorer combat increase by itself, because that's 250 extra XP on your Explorer. That's 250 more HP that he will stay alive and continue giving an XP boost to all of your units that are fighting. And the warrior, the work rate for the Warrior Priests is also nice. It's only 10%, but hey, that's still, 2 extra settlers once you're at a full once you're at a full 10 once you're at a full 10 warrior priests. So hey, it's not the craziest thing in the world, but it's still useful,
There you go.
Infinite 1300 coin in Age 4. Arrival time increased to 60 seconds, up from 40 seconds. This card will arrive in 40 seconds due to the recent acceleration of Imperial card arrivals. Yeah, so this is definitely a nerf here. 1300 coin arriving in 60 seconds, up from 40. The Infinite 1300 coin is one of the infamous Age 4 Aztec cards. Now, I don't actually run it in my decks because I'm an upgrade whore, and I love, like... I generally run like Great Chinampas instead, for example. But I know a lot of late game Aztec players are going to be saddened by this.
So based on reading this, though, was this like an oversight where it instead accidentally became an arrives fast card?
No.
After recent changes?
No, they just straight up slowed it down in the 4th and 5th ages, basically. It went from 40 seconds to like 35 seconds in the Imperial to 60 seconds in the Industrial and 40 seconds in the Imperial.
Okay, then. Got it.
No reason for it as far as I can tell. Okay, so Aztec's Rebellion card now costs 1,000 of each resource. It's still completely unusable. Alright. Eagle Runner Knights added a 0.75 times multiplier against infantry to all range attacks. So this is an interesting one because Aztec Eagle Runner Knights have 25% range resistance, which means with a 0.7 times multiplier against things like Musketeers, which have no range resistance, this basically gives them the equivalent of Eagle Runner Knights range resistance just in the form of a negative multiplier. And it actually makes Eagle Runner Knights a very, very close match with a standard veteran Musketeer. Because they both have 180 HP, and they both they both have a similar attack with 30 at 3 speed compared to 27. So this is actually, like, pretty insane, because it means that the answer to Eagle Runner Knights... the answer to Aztecs is changing from skirmishers to heavy infantry. Because skirmishers is still the better answer against Eagle Runner Knights, but with Coyote Runners being useful again, we'll be able to actually take out skirmishers with their proper counters. And so if you pick Musketeers, you'll be able to trade cost effectively against expensive Eagle Runner Knights and also deal with Coyotes. Which means that the standard answer to all things Aztec is changing to Musketeers instead of skirmishers, which is pretty interesting.
I mean, just given that they're basically supposed to be the Aztec goon in the first place, right?
And they're lowering range resistance to 20%. So yeah, they are trying to make the Eagle Runner Knight an even match for veteran Musketeers right here.
It definitely reads like, oh, wait, they are a little too good against too many things. Let's make the things that are supposed to be better against them better against them. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of people concerned that Aztec's answers without them won't be as good, but I have no commentary on that one. If so, I hope the devs continue to look at what the Aztecs do deserve in return. But obviously, no one in this game necessarily likes when one unit does too many rolls at once, as we've seen with various new unit changes in just the past 4 or 5 months alone.
So
It's
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Eagle Runner Knight will, of course, lose to skirmishers. It will now be an even and therefore a cost-ineffective match against musketeers, but it will still retain its role of the ultimate the anti-cavalry god among men, with literally 90 damage at base at every 3 seconds against heavy cav, and just being a super DPS intense shredder against other goons. Against other goons of the type. It doesn't have cavalry multipliers, artillery multipliers, but you know that's what the Arrow Knight is for. So
At the end of the day,
the Eagle Runner Knight is still the king of goons, even if it now properly doesn't shred infantry. You know, so there is that to say.
Reminding us that if your hair or hat is a bird, all arguments are still invalid.
The Warrior Priest cover mode removed. Yeah, whatever. Who cares?
Oh boy.
British! Fuck you, British! Alright, moving on.
I mean, I'm sure you've gone over at the PUP notes. We'll see how it plays out. It seems nice, and they tried not to go too hard in one direction, which I always prefer slight nerfs, more frequency, more attention. Also, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy to see Rangers getting more love and more ability to actually be used.
More Rangers across the board. They're also setting them up to be normal skirmishers, basically.
Good times.
Woo! Greenwich time now rise fast. Yay. Queen's Rangers fix an issue with the longbowman upgrades could continue to be available in the barracks. Yep, cool. Bug fixes across the board. Right, this is a new one of the new things. Disciples got a multiplier against mercenaries, which I'm glad for. You know, every civilization deserves a spy equivalent, right? What annoys me though is that fucking India doesn't. All they got was just access to the infinite spies, but so does China. You know.
So the other bad feeling is someone actually pointed out the stats between spy versus disciple, and it's like, so does this actually do anything, or does it still feel bad to try? Like, those disciple stats don't scream, now I have your mercenaries answered for.
Well, I think it's supposed to be combined with, like, the White Pagoda.
We shall see how it turns out.
Summer Palace nerfs in ages 2 and 3. This is cool. It'll slow China down a little bit.
And then train increases.
Yeah, train time increases across the board. I'm all for. Fuck China. I hate China so much. I know it's not, like, fair, but, like, I hate China. I despise China with all my heart, and so I will revel in any nerfs that they get, either deserved or unjustified.
That double-faced armor nerf, though.
Yeah, double-faced armor nerf, like, this card is, like, pointless now, it feels like. Repelling Volley, Chukunu, and Arquebuser no longer gets improved by this card. Right, this increases their damage multipliers instead of their damage specifically. So this means that they're going to do better against the things that they multiply against, but worse against the things they didn't.
Well, based on that reading, there absolutely has to be at least one more range shock infantry besides ERK, because they specifically fixed that issue. So there you have it.
It's probably Bolus Warriors from Inca then, if that's the case. All right. Dutch Bank hit points reduced to 3,500 from 4,000. I'm cool with this because it makes it easier to kill the Dutch, and I don't play the Dutch.
What did the Dutch ever do to you? I mean,
too much.
I'm guessing you've gone over all these cards, so let's just boil it down to probably the major change from the first PUP announcement and the general what they're trying to do with Dutch. So the biggest change is Buck Riders was supposed to have a 500 coin cost. They accidentally forgot it during the first iteration. Then they added it. To be blunt, I think most people have immediately concluded
500 is way too much.
Yeah, I get So here's the problem. And Tilanus was graceful and kind enough to actually show up on our Discord, and I was able to talk to him a little bit about it.
Yeah, this
I
is
get
actually
what
one of our first big changes from the PUP, is that this used to be free and now it costs coin.
Yes. So they're hoping it gives Dutch the ability to have an alternative Age 2 play, as opposed to being like a way to, or a different way to keep aging up. But even then, I get that once you consider that it also reduces resource and population cost, it eventually pays for itself. But ironically, for like the coin gathering civ, 500 coin that early when they still need that much just to keep up their merchants is painful. It's painful.
Yeah.
I have tried so hard to do different build variations just to see if you can reliably get this out, not just completely stunt yourself. It doesn't work.
Granted, it was a little stupid when it was free. Like it was more than it was really stupid when it was free.
And also
but like you could make it 250 coin, for example, and not 500, or you could keep it as 500 and increase the amount of highwaymen you get as a base shipment, and
exactly.
That would solve the issue.
I would love to see better outlaw play, because that's going to flow into the other major card, which is the next one. Dutch States Army is a wonderful idea, and as someone who's dreamed training Highlanders since I was a young kid playing the original game, it's great, except I think it's not. So here's the problem. It doesn't do anything different for Dutch. They're still stuck fighting for their lives Age 2, trying to get to Age 3, where their eco is set up where suddenly they have powerful armies. And now they can go very coin-heavy Musk Huss, but here's the problem. You go to Age 3, you send Dutch States Army, and you can train Highlanders. Royal Horsemen are an Age 4 mercenary, even though they're supposed to be the cavalry unit that's supposed to go with you. I have tried training Hussar with Highlanders, but unfortunately, between the cost increase and the fact you're going to go even harder into coin as Dutch, it doesn't work. The only unit who seems to kind of mesh well with Highlanders alone right now are the cannons, which you don't even have a 2 felt card. So this is a very, very tempo-less style of gameplay. If you're doing this, you're going Dutch, you're going slowly up to Age 3 to set up your resources, you're sending this card, and then you finally get to make Highlanders and hopefully then train a couple of Falc. And it still works. And I suspect for team and treaty games, this could wind up a very good build. But for 1v1, there's no flow into it. Like the Buck Riders card, ironically, if it were cheaper, would be good because you could focus on outlaws instead of food or wood costing units in H2, and it would flow better. But right now, either you're against a civ that lets you get to Age 3, mostly passively, and it works, or it's one of the civs who cause Dutch problem anyways, and you can't. You go too hard into food and wood to ever really get around to DSA.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, long story short, best comp stomp card ever. Enjoy your Highlander mass, everybody.
And that's if you choose not to make Fusiliers instead for the movement speed.
Also a good point. Zippity Zuda infantrymen with both that card and the upgrades, let me tell you.
Alright, Eastern Medicine from Ethiopians now correctly increases the range of Ethiopian villagers, sure. Cards, new hand infantry combat, added to home city, improved shuttle warrior hit points, and this terrifies me, because shuttles are, like, very clearly, like, the best shock infantry in the game now, right? Except for maybe Rat and Shields.
I mean, yeah, it's actually...
I mean, Rat and Shields are probably the undisputed kings of shock infantry, but shuttle warriors are like the trainable ones. You know, I think this right here makes them even better than like Chimus, personally.
Imagine my shock when I found out that they were a shock infantry lancer, and now they're going to get even more stats. There's a lot of people for who that's just going to feel bad.
And everything is getting lower multipliers against them too, which is just crazy.
I literally cannot even comment if it's actually OP or imbalanced or not, but I suspect for a lot of people, it's just going to feel bad to fight that now.
Yeah. Okay, Aroma Warriors are getting lowered in their shipment count. Aubans are getting lowered in their build limits. British firearms no longer improves the damage of all heavy range cavalry, but instead improves the range of all Ethiopian infantry and cavalry units armed with firearms.
Okay, but that had to happen because they literally didn't have any heavy range cavalry.
Yeah,
It was
that's true.
solely for like the however many Hark came in that card. It's like, did you just make a card to buff the units you just sent and we'll never get more of? Did you really do that? So it's a
thanks for
fair.
contextualizing that for me.
It's a
cool.
fair.
Shuttle Warriors got 10 less hit points. Oh, yay.
Yes.
Their new combat card gives them 24. What do you fucking do?
So, but look what the Aromos got in return.
Yeah, I know. Aromos are actually usable.
I mean, if you think about it, so now Ethiopia can very reliably pump out one of the best skirms, one of the best goons, and have a form of hand cav, quote unquote, when you think of it as Shotel and or Romo.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of options.
Ethiopia players rejoice. And the Sebastopol Mortar is usable again, too.
Yes, biggest boom is good again.
Like the Sebastopol Mortar Fast Fortress is going to be back, baby. I'm actually considering trying to play Ethiopia a little bit more.
And before you terrorize the ladder with your OP Civ. All right. Ooh, you asked about the French bourbon card, and here we're coming to it, baby.
I wonder if we're going to see an additional patch note in here about the removal of flying cannons.
Shh! Don't you dare. But so, the big change here is Ancient Regime now is Age 1 and includes a Royal Embassy wagon. Obviously, this is much better to get this card and still keep some tempo with it, which is
definitely just makes it feel a lot smoother.
Because, like I pointed out, yes, they get that bourbon XP card.
Hey, FYI, we can't afford to spend too much longer on this video, so let's try to focus on how it's different from the PUP, because I do have to start getting ready for work in about a half an hour.
Gotcha. Other than that, I don't think anything's different from the PUP for the French right now.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. It looks like they didn't bug fix the. It looks like they haven't bug fixed the moving fixed guns just yet.
We figured it out too late. It's coming.
We figured it out too late. Yeah.
Or maybe they won't worry about it. Seems low priority to me.
Landwehr range attack multiplier for light cavalry increased to 1.5 from 1.25. So I believe this makes them actually comparable. Yeah, because you go from 16 damage with a 2x multiplier to 20 with a 1.5 times. So you go from dealing 32 to 30 damage. But that's a hell of a lot better than 32 to 25 that it was before. So that's a good thing. Landwehr's needed this, basically, because it was like the one kind of thing where it was like, I don't know, because that's a lot less damage against goons, and goons rock.
I mean, hey, they're a weird unit for your standard German comp, but nice to have them, I guess. And nice.
I love Landwehrs. I love making these guys personally. Alright, Ships of Mighty Battleship ahead of its time. Yeah, this card is going to be insane, and I'm going to make a video and a build all about this, preferably on New England with a forward pond.
Am I the one who thinks that Witch Hammer change could become a big deal? Maybe not a big deal, but...
Reduces the population cost of outlaw-type units.
Notice how this now literally is the card Buck Riders needs to be for the Dutch to do their mercenary army thing. Because that sounds like Germany could go Outlaw Age 2 and flow into their mercenary camps now. Because they'll be able to focus on coin units from the start. How silly is that?
Unknown. We'll figure it out. Let's see here.
Circle Army being suddenly good.
Yeah, Circle Army is now usable for once. Yay!
And then the Chevalier card swaps for the War Wagons, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And making the original card cost, but actually add units, which is still probably a net positive. So now, if you want to see if they are, in fact, Hack Pellets 2.0, it might be worth your while.
Yeah, because they have a really high melee damage, right?
They are low-key Hack Pellet 2.0. I don't think they're as broken.
Yeah, I don't remember them being as broken. I remember them being a little bit more, like, dealable.
So hopefully the 2.0 is the part where they work just fine. But yes, it's the same idea. Goon, but also quietly handcalf.
Okay, so Haudenosaunee is getting a naval card in Age 4, moved to the Age 3 marks. That's pretty cool. They'll help them take the water, and that's it. That's all they got.
Hausa will be able to now properly reduce Iconocobia cost and spam even more.
Yay! Nobody thought the Icon needed buffs. Nobody! But here we are.
I'm serious. It's clear the devs really want to push that combo for Hausa right now.
I guess
just
so.
all there is to it. Even if this is just a bug fix, it means cheaper Icon, cheaper cannons, more likely for Berber coin. Boom. Guns everywhere.
Alright, Inca got a lower build limit, which sucks. A change to Raph nerf. You know, because everybody thought that, you know, Inca really needed more nerfs right now. Jungle Bowman line of sight increased to 20 from 18. I approve of this, but I feel like it should also come with a range increase from 16 to 18. Personally. Maceman population cost reduced to 2, down from 3. This is a big deal, actually.
I feel like that's what I keep seeing brought up about Inca, is whether or not this is what Macemen need.
Yeah.
I have no commentary.
This basically makes Maceman the most powerful of like all of the most powerful of all of the like Hospitallers and Dops. Basically, they'll have the highest HP and the highest damage of all of them, even Samurai. However, they are slow. They have less base speed. I think they have 4.25 base speed, which Inca has a lot of movement speed upgrades, so that's not the worst thing in the world for them. But they're also really expensive. So, and Inca has a worse economy than a lot of the other than a lot of the other civilizations that have these DOP-like units. So you're not going to see too many Macemen. You're probably going to see them more so from shipments than anything else. But this does improve them by quite a bit.
Well, there you go. I mean, obviously, even if it just makes the shipments more worth your while because they don't bog up your pop cap, probably worthwhile enough, right?
Food costs removed from the Age 3 shipment. This is big right here. People are going to be putting the 5 Maceman shipment in Age 3 and sending it all the goddamn time, I think.
Ruh-roh.
Now improves building hit points by 30%, down from 45. This is their town center fighting card. Their colonial militia equivalent, basically. It improves town centers in combat and boosts the hit points of all your buildings.
They saw the recent match between Puggo and Robin in our own Discord's 1v1 tournament. We're like, that was just mean.
Wamani cost decrease to 250 wood is also a very big deal for Inca. This is their early Kalanka card. This is the one that allows them to train all of their Age 3 units in Age 2. Now it only costs 250 wood.
Okay then.
And comes with the Kalanka wagon. Tupac's Rebellion. Cost reduced to 1,500 of each resource, down from 2,000. Makes it a little more useful. This thing was already way better than the Aztec one. Now it's even more so. This thing. So basically, the big prize of Tupac's Rebellion is that it turns Macemen into artillery, and it turns Chimu runners into guard hussars instead of vet ones now.
Well, and then you get a bunch of soldados potentially. So already the most OP.
Mm-hmm. Tutora reads the big button dock is nerfed. Cool. Indians. Carne Armada. I hate this personally.
did they reduce that even further now?
No, they buffed the Carne Armada from 10 to 15 and then reverted it.
For a second, I thought they got all the way to 20, so yeah, okay, either way.
But at least the Carne Armada still has its range increase. That's nice. I'm happy for the range increase at the very least.
I mean, the worst that would ever happen in India is, oh no, they'll go back to using the Incredible Agra Fort every time. What a shame.
Rajaputs are maybe a little bit more useful, especially with the siege bonus and food cost reduction. So there you go.
Yeah, but look what had to get sacrificed at the altar of Rajput valuability.
I mean, they did get nerfed, but they also got buffed here, so I don't think that's too different.
I mean, we'll see if they make up for what the change they made to Sepoy.
Yeah, Sepoy. I think they're trying to make the Rajaput more valuable as a unit by making the Sepoy worse against cavalry, basically.
Well, and someone probably just looked and it's like, okay, we have a tradition. If you carry a sword instead of a bayoneted musket, you do less damage.
High base damage, less multiplier damage, which is fair.
And you get the logic because the bayonet on the musket makes it kind of like a spear, which traditionally is anti-cav, blah, 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 blah.
Sepoy were so insane earlier. They did more damage than pikemen against cavalry with 15 of the 3 times. They were like the kings of musketeers.
I mean, and then the rest of that's just sort of like the building damage, like, well, yeah. Like they need to wreck everything that early. They're still otherwise.
Taking all this into account, they're still like the kings of musketeers in terms of HP and damage values, so that's cool.
I mean, as age 2 musketeers go, they still otherwise are like the one who bullies all the rest.
Yeah.
Even Ashi only compete with them because of speed, not because of stats.
And even look at this, they have a combat card now, kind of.
Well, it makes more sense when you read what they did to the Exalted Sepoy. So this is still a good change. But instead of...
Yeah, okay, I see now. Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, you need to pay a card, but now it's not like some weird Imperial super buff.
Yeah.
Which I fully agree with. Don't get me wrong.
Beseglery range resistance increase. They're really buffing Beseglery, considering that they have more damage against shock infantry, right?
And so like I said, it's because they set all the regular gun ones to 0.6. For Salieri, we're at 0.5. So that actually buffs them. Well, there you go. Whether or not that's what breaks them or not, I can't tell you.
So yeah, 1,000 food in the Lombards, age 2, 1,500 wood in the Lombards, age 3. This just gives them more of what they already have, basically. They have 1,500 coin, now they have 1,500 wood as well. You can make a build where you can just go all in on the Lombards and deliver shipment after shipment after shipment of 1,000, and it's going to be so much fun to play. I personally don't think that this is broken, like a lot of people are saying, because what really makes crate shipments like 700 coin in Age 2 so valuable is the speed at which you pick it up. And this is more resources, but the speed is much slower, much slower than... Because like the crates gather at like 20 per second, whereas the Lombards churn out like 2 per second, you know?
I mean, I've seen your brother very much in love with the changes.
I am in love with them personally as well. I've tested them out, and I don't think it makes them broken personally. I think people are overreacting at this.
I mean, we'll see. It certainly feels like Lombards early kind of feel more like a drag or a chore compared to later, where you really start kicking in their macro intensive power. So
this changes
it probably makes sense. Whether or not it winds up being too much, well, if it does, I'm sure they can change numbers around.
They also got an extra Bosniak with the Albanian company, which is really cool, especially since Bosniaks got buffed in this patch. This applies to Malta as well. This is totally fair. Steel bolts siege damage reduced to 10 from 6. It's fair. It's fair.
I mean, if anything, Italy probably feels a bit more like they're just caught in the crossfire of that. But it's not like I'm sure the Vizier needs to be that much better at it either, so it's probably fine.
Team Marco Polo is now unusable.
Oh, okay. So the Salieri actually just...
Yeah, they got their 5% range res moved to the Industrial Age instead of the Imperial Age.
Ooh, the Japanese ones, though. That one's going to be interesting. I mean, look, just to sum it up real quick, there may be an entirely alternate way to Shrine Boom based on shipments and XP. You might not even have to go Portugal. Instead, go for one of the other consulates, and it may allow for different Unicons H2. It's hard to state just how big this might be, because it may or may not work, but if it does, you got a whole nother avenue for Japan play from the traditional wood gathering boom.
Yeah, that's true. You can basically ship all of your shrines.
Also,
considering that you can ship 5/5 and then 4/4, and then also boost their HP in the meantime.
And they even moved the XP card where you can like trickle XP to age 1, so they really are trying to make this a potential different choice.
I'm
Also,
all for this, actually. Like, one of my big issues with Japan is that they have so few ways. They have such little variety in playstyle, I find.
I'd just like to point out that the devs have very clearly indicated Japan is the civ to piss everyone off, and that will forever be their crown because of Azakura including auto repair to shrine, just to really piss people off with him.
Oh yeah, there it is.
I love that part. It's so going to do so much salt. So now you can't just casually raid them. You have to go for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
not a Rider Combat Nurse 7. Oh right, this one is so funny. Okay, so 7 Samurai.
the fact that they literally gutted an actual pop culture reference to do this.
No, so this was the dumbest thing. So 7 Samurai in Age 4 had this dumb little thing that nobody knew about because, the ship is just called 7 Samurai. It doesn't look any different from the normal one, but each time you sent it, it boosted Samurai combat by 5%. And nobody knew about this, but like a few people did, and it was so funny. And it made it so that you needed to send like 3 fucking shipments in order to cap out Samurai just by and it's just by 10%. So they just moved it to their combat card instead.
Yeah,
and it's so I find that so funny.
I just find it funny because the 7 Samurai is an obvious actual reference to the movie, and not the increased date. It's like I saw at least one Reddit comment that was "Change it back, you uncultured swine." But all good things must come to an end.
Malta, I don't like this personally. Like, Malta need buffs, not nerfs. They needed nerfs to their crossbows and buffs to everything else. They have I think Malta right now is like, it has the USA problem when they came out, where USA had one thing that was broken, which was the state militia, and because of that, they got nerfs to everything instead of just nerfs to state militia and buffs to everything else.
This change in particular, I approve of on principle, and I really hope that's like, okay, we need to do this because it's going to be awkward if we buff everything because this is still here. But you're right. They needed to get rid of expos, but they're the clear holes in the rest of their game plan.
Yeah, they did nerf the expos here, but what I don't get is I do approve also of the new 5 Sentinel card. I think that's really going to help them a lot. But like 5 Sentinels is actually pretty high value when you consider that they get their that you're going to be sending this probably as a defensive measure more than an offensive one, and they get their bonus while you're under the TC. But
and to be fair, Wigna Court probably deserved a nerf because that is a very, very powerful bonus that also synergizes with defensive map control. But I'm with you. I have no better way to pull it than I feel like Malta's macro gameplay is wonderful, but like their unit comps with coin all feel like there's some weird hitch or something in the way of it.
Yeah.
Which is why we eventually got around to, oh wait, look how good their expos are. So I hope we see more changes on the positive end after this. But at the end of the day, they're still cutting at the siege damage, and they're trying to slow down the fact expos eventually get Musketeer level HP.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've seen that before, and it's like, wow, this is stupid. Good point.
Yeah. Fixed gun now correctly displays the damage multiplier of 0.1 against siege troopers such as Air Knights and Harakas. Yeah, I've seen that before. Order Longbowmen nerf. I don't get this. They just made the Order Longbowmen the exact same as the normal Longbowmen, despite the fact that they're supposed to be 10% higher stats because, they're order units. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it.
I mean, yeah. Order Longbowmen both are just interesting, because they feel worth the shit, but so long as those expos are there, you're always going to be left going, but I could just make more crossbows instead.
Literally, the only thing they got out of this was an extra 5 Sentinel shipment in Age 2, but, like, that's just going to delay the inevitable because everything else is worse!
Like I said, this is probably the round where they find out where Malta's cracking. Hopefully the next round is how they give it what it needs to also feel better.
I hope so. I honestly have not enjoyed playing Malta recently. And I love Malta, but I don't like playing I haven't liked playing them for the past few months because they just feel gutted, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, something's just off with the Civ, and I hope they figure it out.
Me too. Mexico just has some new stuff. I don't want to go over it. There's nothing particularly crazy here.
For how much good old Mexico tends to get under people's nerves sometimes, they really didn't get much.
They didn't do anything here, really.
Ottomans, on the other hand.
Fuck you. I am so happy about this.
So Abbas are a bit more tame in return. Everything else is better.
Yeah.
Right down to Janissary getting 5 more HP back.
Why? Why? It makes...
Excuse
honestly,
me,
though,
sir.
I don't care because Albus got nerfed, and that's all that matters to me.
To be fair, I would rather this approach if Ottomans just
I agree. I think this is better than than keeping the Obus gun be the king of skirmishers and have them make nothing else, you know. In particular, I want to see more Zaps. I think Zaps are really cool, and I think that more people should make them.
I mean, with their buffs and with all the new unit cards, I think we'd be very challenged not to see them at some point. I would like to point out, however, the greatest Ottoman nerf of them all, Team Spahi card in H4 no longer increases allied hand cav armor by 10%.
Ah.
Because that needed to be a card in the first place.
Yeah, look, we got 7 Zaps, 11 Zaps, 22 Zaps. Super good right here. I'm hoping to see more Zap stuff because the Zaps are really cool.
But I mean, if you just look at them, they went an interesting route. At no point do they say they just need more vills. They said, we're going to give you a bunch of cards that eventually make things cheaper and train faster enough you never needed the vills in the first place. Kind of feels like where they're going with that. You've got actual train time card for infantry. You've got train time for cav archers. You have everybody getting cost reductions from the Ogland school now. Flight archery now buffing damage to cav archers and AZAF by 15%. They've got a lot of love in this patch, and
they did.
Which to say, with how overbearing Abs have been,
they got like 2 straight big patches of buffs, and it's so nonsensical to me. Nobody thinks that Ottomans are weak anymore. Please stop.
The funny thing is, and even if they did it all in one patch, we'd probably have accepted it. But this probably is what I would call a poorly timed buff for Ottomans.
Yes.
Maybe this is exactly what they need if Abs aren't broken, but it doesn't going to feel like that.
It's coming at a time when the community already fucking hates Ottomans for being super good. You know?
I mean, hey, I'm all for buffing the civs that are all about musketeer cannon, though, so eat it, everybody. Eat guns.
And they got buffed by virtue of skirmishers being nerfed.
Which, to be fair, is also their biggest nerf, so let's hope it balances out that hilariously, shall we? Mm. Oh, the Portuguese.
This is the thing. So, I heard that did they get their 5%? Yeah. So this is the thing right here. Settlers no longer gather 5% faster from huntable animals and berries than other settlers, which seems like, okay, well, that's kind of cool, except that completely invalidates the buff that they just got to Fatorius, which means all Fatorius is good for is slightly higher wood and coin increase because they also removes the XPs. So, despite the fact that Fatorius is buffed, the civilization's overall economy is worse than it was before.
So here's why this is frightening. Right now, this means that, yeah, it's not even a buff, it's just a different normalization. But it means they want Portugal to be supremely stay-at-home turtle. Like the fact, because let's face it, the 5% faster gather is a slightly double-edged sword, because it means your hunt goes away faster. So that's how you get them on the map sooner. Instead, we're giving them a card that says, please make more TCs, please take longer to gather resources, and please stay at home. And And let me be clear, I'm one of those rare people who plays game who love early defensive play. I like watching TVT and StarCraft 1, but given the community's general feeling about that kind of defensive tactic, this is not the change people are going to want to see. And I promise you, if Fatorius still isn't good enough, it will get buffed again to the point where it's just not completely broken itself, but you still have ports who literally are just like, yeah, you can come to me now. I'm not heading out. I'll see you age 4 when I have, like, whatever comp I have that's one of the best in the game because all their units are some of the best in class. So this probably... It really reminds us the devs seem to really want to get the game to go later, even in 1v1 supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to comment on if that's a healthy change or not.
This right here is a funny little thing to me. So, fix an issue that would grant Castors veteran combat strength when available in the Commerce Age. So Castors have their base stats fixed into Age 3 instead of Age 2. And you could make them available in Age 2 through use of a teammate's early skirmisher card. I'm not sure which civilization exactly had the early skirmisher card. I think it was France?
France.
Yeah. However, what's kind of funny is Portugal has this unique little card called Early Goons, which applies to Eagle Runner Knights, which also scale from their Age 3 stats just like the Castador, and that one hasn't been addressed yet. So it just feels like it's super...
ruin that for everybody. Good job. Good job, Joe.
I kind of want to. I kind of want to make like a Portugal Aztec team strat where you send early goons and then the Aztec player just goes ham on the Age 2 anti-cav. You know.
If you think about it, Castador Eagle Runner Knight, that just sounds. Oh, why? Why would you do that to people? Or even worse, since they can afford it, it'll be Castador Legionnaire Musketeer. Oh, God, man.
So, yeah, Russians can get 210 population. That's a super cool deal. I'm all for it. Good for you, Russians.
Here, have half the Somnia nerf back it straight up this time. Will they just do what we all know they really want to do and make them cost half pop so they're actually the Zergling of the game?
They should give Strelitz a 10 times multiplier against Cav in melee.
Oh, God. I wouldn't even know what we're watching anymore if they did that.
Alright, Spanish missionary classified as a cavalry unit. Yay! Goons actually counter them. That's the biggest takeaway is you can finally counter missionaries with goons.
No. Just because they're on a horse.
All for them.
I mean, some interesting changes here. The one that is going to feel very timely right now is they did slightly increase the train rate of soldados, spawning 3 seconds slower.
Thank God.
I was about to say, I'm starting to see a lot of comments on the Spanish FI Hacienda build, so...
I fucking commented about that, like, as soon as it came out, and everybody was like, no, it's too slow, it's just blah, 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 blah. No, it's insane! It's insane, and now everybody knows it too.
Is it? Am I the one who finds it funny that Dutch have this entire new card setup to, like, boot or, like, age later to get to age 4 for strong musketeer Hus play, and then Spain does it better with 2 Hacienda card? It's like, that's not supposed to be Spain's shtick, and they still do it better.
Yeah,
the power of faster shipments, baby.
Oh, yeah. Swedes ranged cavalry combat effects initially that made this card affect the entire team. Oh, that's kind of funny.
Swedes.
Barrage Age 4, card removed. Do you know what Barrage did?
What mortars do now.
Oh,
they
okay,
had
cool.
a card solely to let them do what all mortars do now. So
got it.
That's why they removed the card.
That makes sense.
And then
increase, yay.
We'll see how it turns out. Obviously, based on anecdotal data on our own Civ grid, it needed to happen. Is it enough? Is it too much? Is it not enough? We shall find out. I will admit the poor Swedes probably don't like the look of this patch because none of it's better for them. But realistically, none of it's probably terrible. We'll see.
Hackapellet siege nerfs. That's cool.
Just the fact that for some reason Hackapellets are like S-tier raiders. Which, a very costly one, but... Oh, United States. If I get any time to, I'm going to squee over their changes here.
Okay, yeah, USA. These guys, USA underwent a lot of changes over the various pups. So one is Scottish immigrants here, which moves to age 2, and costs 400 coin, which is exactly what it used to be back in the day when this card just came out. But it no longer ships a Highlander by default, which means you're only getting one Highlander for every saloon, and trade post you have.
Trade post and meeting house.
And meeting house, yeah, thank you. I know I was missing one. But you're not getting one right off the bat. So basically what this means is that the US Scottish Highlander rush is back, but it's now one Highlander less than what it used to be. So you're going to be hit by 6 to 7 Highlanders instead of 7 to 8, which is a huge deal, as that's like 400 less HP and like 60 damage less per 3 seconds.
I was about to say, when you remember a Highlander is actually basically 2 Musketeers per model, even one down's a big difference. And the fact that you literally can't use this card now without making the investment, we'll see if it's what they need to let it work in H2. But I mean, I'm for it. The Marines, but the Marines changes.
Let's talk about Marines. So Marines can now be healed. The siege damage improvement from Minutemen is now reduced by 25% with the Marines. So this card used to take their siege from 5 to 55. And then with the nerf to this card, it brought them from like 5 to 30, and everybody complained about it because like the whole reason you make Marines is because they have good siege. Basically, it's like half the reason you get them. So they instead made it so it's lower than before, but it now it brings them to, I think, like 41, 42 siege, somewhere in that range. So it's still really high, but nowhere near as like blatantly stupid as it was, which is somewhat sad to me. But I'm just glad that they finally listened to me after years, and Marines can be healed again.
I mean, I was about to say, it's going to make it feel much better to like constantly get your Minutemen out the moment you can, because now you aren't going to have a bunch of half-health Marines once you actually go there. But these next 2 changes, I actually cannot praise this enough, and here's why. So USA, I think, has been stuck in a rut for like the past quarter to a half a year, where I think USA in a lot of ways has had a lot of weird issues with their unit comps, hidden by the fact that coffee mill guns was just silly.
Yeah, and now it's moved to age 4, so thank God. And I think Gatling guns also got a lower multiplier against cavalry.
But both need to happen. I'm kind of with people with like the damage multiplier to only happen if you send CMG. But at the end of the day, it's a cheap falconet. It's not supposed to do well against cavalry. I'm not going to complain either way.
What I think is great is this right here. So yeah, they changed the carbine cavalry. So the full damage application is now guaranteed with every attack. But this isn't quite exactly what actually happened. And we have somebody who is going over shadow updates in the and I might go over shadow updates in a separate video. But we have somebody who's going over shadow updates in the Discord, and one of the things that they said was the Carbine Cavalry now do all their damage in one shot, even though their animation still does 2 shots. So when it says the full damage application is now guaranteed with every attack, what they really mean is that the Carbine Cavalry now behaves like a normal Dragoon, even if its fire animation is like a 1-2 pop. It's just 1 burst of damage.
And I can confirm, so it is the exact same animation. They do their shot, pump, shot thing. But yes, you even see it now statistically. It just shows as 22 flat damage, not 11 with 2 attacks.
So what this means with the Carbine Cavalry, though, is that the Carbine Cavalry is turned into a goon that has extra damage, but it has extra damage, but it's like squishy as shit. And
well, so let's even go a bit further, and then
they're also a little cheaper as well. And then Buffalo Soldiers got moved to age 3 instead of age 4, which gives them 15% attack and extra range resistance, boosting from 10 to 20%.
Yes.
Which means that Carbine Cavalry are now going to be like the premier cheap Dragoon unit, essentially.
Like, the amount, I think this will help USA because this gives them a lot more accessibility to comps in age 3. instead of just, rolling artillery CMG, and it's like, well, that's my unit, is so much what I think USA actually needs for the health of the Civ.
Yes,
even the fact that now Carbine might feel almost worth it to try some weird H2 Skirm Goon comp, even if you need to send 2 different cars to do it.
And this here was not included in the base PUP either. This was added.
No, it was not. They threw that in the very last Shadow update, and then shipped it like 2 days later. So I'm a huge fan. I like everything this implies. I've only got one very, very hot take about USA right now.
What's that?
I think we're going to find that without CMG in H3, a lot of people are going to become very disappointed at Gatling guns.
I love Gatling guns. I almost never send coffee mills. I still find them one of the best artillery units in the game.
It's the fact that... So the one thing to their credit is they are actually cheap for an artillery.
That's why, is because they're so fucking cheap.
But I think even for the damage just 2 Falcons do, just because even of that one extra AoE, there are going to be a lot of people like, oh, this doesn't do what I expect an artillery piece to do. Like, it's telling that
I think we'll be fine. But we do have to move on. We have to move on.
All right. Oh, and settler bill limit increase. Wahaha.
Yeah. That's not as important as this right here.
Lies, the most important.
Like they have good anti-cav now, because previously their best anti-cav was coffee mill guns.
I mean, I'm seriously going to try to score Goon Gatling with them and see how that's going to turn out now.
I'm actually excited for that as well, personally. I'm not gonna go over all these revolutions.
Cool revolution stuff. Moving on.
This is more important to me personally. Standard map pool. Added removed Yellow River from standard maps. Really?
Wah wah.
Added Karelian Lakes. Added Caucasus. So you're a little bit more likely to come across the Fanar allies in standard maps now. So that's cool.
Oh no. Oh no. Buffalo Joe going to ruin the ladder.
T-Maps added Bayou, added the some of the new maps. Is special maps? Yeah, special maps added Dunes the Eye. Okay.
Nah.
So Dunes the Eye is going to be a special map only one. Standard maps is going to have Caucasus, which I'm excited for.
Oh god. They added
this is going to be the new, like, the one that people interact with the most by far.
I'm just going to point out Black Forest is now in special maps, and people are going to find out about Black Forest the first time, and we're finally going to have the sub-meta that is the Black Forest group, like Age of Empires 2 has.
I mean, basically nobody plays with the special map pool anyways. Everybody just plays standard. And yeah, okay, we've been over special map pools, so that's it. That's all I'm going to go over. Thank you so much for watching, gentles and ladymen. I tried to keep this as brief as I could, but we ended up getting sucked in tangents, especially now that we know a lot more context about everything given the update after the weeks of the PUP being out. So there you go. Have a great day, gentles and ladymen, and goodbye.
Still my heart beats again and again. I'm always searching for love with no sense within my head. Till that day when I see that I met the most amazing demon